I wanted to remind people, this is not just like a wave comes off the shore, a 3-foot wave smacks down on the beach. This is a longitudinal wave with great force driving through the shoreline and into land. That's why we ask people to evacuate very far back. People asked if there was a generic way to describe how far you have to get away from the shoreline. To be absolutely safe, it's at least 4,000 feet. That's the better part, that's 4/5 of a mile, basically. That's why these inundation zones, which you can see on the map, which show red, are not just a few feet off of the shoreline. It is.
Shit. What's up?
You bring my sandwich?
No, I can though. There's a tsunami warning. It's a tsunami. Damn Russians. It's no. Although, I mean, you never know. How long have you lived here? Yeah. Yeah, we've had, I mean, I think we're conditioned to not really put too much, too much into that.
Right by the water. The only ones on the golf.
Only, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Where you going?
I just go work. Hey, I made $50 an hour last Sunday. It's not bad. It adds up. All right, take care. All right, and we're off. So what we were talking about was there's a tsunami warning thanks to some earthquake off the coast of Russia somewhere. Actually, I think one of these signs over here says you are now exiting the tsunami zone. Let's see, which one is it? I think it's that blue one up by the bus stop. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Entering tsunami hazard area. Exiting tsunami hazard area. There you go. All right, so we're off today. Now, I recently received my new DJI mic mini, and so this is my first test run. Not too sure how it sounds, but hopefully it works out pretty good. I also have I'm currently using an open face helmet, so I imagine wind noise is going to be a little bit up there. I do have a Sena Outrush R Bluetooth helmet coming in, and I'm excited for that because I will actually be able to hear notifications from the app. I've missed quite a few of orders when I couldn't hear the orders coming in. So this is beautiful Kailua. It's kind of an overcast day, actually. Hawaii, people seem to think, Hawaii is paradise, and it is, but I've always felt my number one complaint, not complaint, but my number one, it's hard to explain without sounding like you're complaining, but for those who grew up here and live here, you know what I'm talking about when I say that the weather often feels like Groundhog Day. And for some, that's great because you have beautiful, tropical temperatures year round. When it rains, it passes. I've always, this is a great one. I've always, I got a taste of seasons for the first time in my life when I moved to Oregon and went to school in Portland. And I was in Portland circa 2003 to 2011. That's a whole different story. But that was my first experience with the different seasons, snow, seeing leaves fall off trees. And it's so beautiful. And you just kind of miss that in Hawaii because really it's just the same day. It's like Groundhog Day, day in and day out. And again, not to sound like I'm complaining, but I definitely appreciate the change in weather when I go elsewhere and travel. And I like the cold. I think that, I mean, I don't think I would like to live in the cold. Like, I'm not born or bred for Alaska. But I will say that I there's something about, like, sweater weather, fires, cozying up to the wife. I don't know. I like it. I think that I have a different sort of appreciation for that type of stuff. And then, I'm sure it goes everywhere. People that live in, like, Chicago, are probably, like, sick to hell, I would imagine, of Chicago weather. Not to knock on Chicago. Don't come after me if you're from Chicago. But if you're from Chicago, I'm sure you know what I mean. I got picked up at Paniolos. This place is pretty spot on for the most part. I would say that they typically will have orders ready to go. And I probably just jinxed it. Thank you so much. All right, let's get out of the tsunami zone and go into another tsunami zone. So, Kailua, where I live on the east side of Oahu, man, it is like just a day for a tsunami. So, Kailua, where I live on the east side of Oahu, is a beautiful town. I grew up here. I moved away to school in Oregon and came back as an adult. Now, we're situated between Kaneohe and Waimanalo, and I have found that I'm often running orders between towns. So Waimanalo has a bunch of really great. Kaneohe has a bunch of really great food. Waimanalo has good food, but less food that's sent via delivery apps. So I will find that a lot of the times when I have an order to Waimanalo, it's dead miles on the way back, meaning I'll never get an order from Waimanalo back to Kailua. So I factor that in. It really has to make sense to go to Waimanalo, and the only reason I will typically make the trip is if my acceptance rate is low. And so, anyway, look, so here's the deal. Here's what I want to talk about, and I'm glad I have this trip and this time. I want to talk a little bit about me, what this channel is going to be about, what I'm about, and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So, my name is Jordan. I went through a couple of. Oh, dang it! No, I don't want to be on the bus. All right, well, we're in no rush. Yeah, you got. Let's see. I got the shaka. Got the shaka from the driver. Oh, he doesn't have the shaka. A lot of these buses actually can flash the shaka on their numbers, but this one looks a little outdated. I would say. Okay, so about me. So Jordan, Vesperado 808. Vespa, clearly because of the Vespa. I thought it had a ring to it. Oh, great, it's going to rain. Of course it's going to rain. Should I pass? I want to pass. I won't pass. All right, so a bit about me. So my name is Jordan. I am many things. I am in... Okay, See, that's the nice thing about doing food on a moped, because even though we can't filter, lane split, or even shoulder in Hawaii, we can get around some things. So, all right, for the third time. So my name is Jordan. I'm many things. I'm a person in recovery, so I less identify, or I less will lead with that, but for intents and purposes, I'm a person in recovery. I'm 15 years sober. And the reason you see me on a Vespa doing what I'm doing right now is because I am a stay-at-home dad to 3 wonderful kids. I got 3 kids, ages 4, 3, and 1, 2 boys and a girl, respectively. And I actually had a really great job with my family business. I worked there for 10 years, and I worked there from when I went to treatment. So again, I'm kind of all over the place, but I went to treatment in 2011, got clean and sober, and I've been sober since. No relapses. Life is good. Things are going great. So I actually published a memoir, self-published it in 2020, and that book, I'll link it in notes below. That's called One Hit Away, a Memoir of Recovery, and that book changed my life. I didn't get rich or anything off of it, but it changed my life in a lot of ways, specifically healing, helping others, kind of taking a negative life experience of a former addiction to heroin, amongst other things, and turning that into something really positive, which is One Hit Away. So that book, I tried hard to get that book published and query and go the traditional route. I ran into an issue with not having a platform, meaning I didn't have a large social media following, and that was sort of the end all for that journey, because I can't tell you how many agents told me, well, your sample pages are great, but for nonfiction especially, we have to sell you, and if you have 100,000 followers, that's a great start. And I was like, 100,000 what? Definitely didn't. It wasn't something I was pursuing. The book kind of came in and of itself out of a source of pain, which is a whole nother story, because sadly, addiction runs in my family. My older brother, I'm the youngest of 3, my older brother passed away, and I found him, and it was a really traumatic experience. And that happened whilst I was writing my memoir. And so for about a year and a half, I would go to work, come home, and just sort of poke my head in the sand. And I worked on this book, and that book became what that book became, and it was really well received. It to everyone's surprise, that book actually went on to win 2020's best book of the year, and it changed my life. And it changed my life, like I said, in a number of ways. I actually left my job, quit my job with the family business, also because my firstborn was here, and I didn't feel comfortable putting him in childcare. My wife has a really good job, and so we decided I would pursue writing full time, and that's what I did for a few years. Knocked out a number of novels, 1 post-apocalyptic fiction book, and I have this whole backlist, and the books are going good. AI sort of came around and changed the landscape. I'm not against AI. I don't have the energy to be against a lot of things anyway. But AI definitely changed the game for so many indie authors, because it really is a pay-to-play landscape. You got to, if you're indie, you're doing everything from not just formatting stuff, but you're doing your marketing, you're doing your websites, you're doing your socials, you're doing your newsletter, all that sort of stuff. And when AI came about, ironically, actually, I don't know if you've heard about Lahaina burning, when Lahaina town on Maui burnt. The next day, someone had released a AI generated book, and it was so terrible, and it had just a lot of misstatements, and the facts were all off, and it said like the whole island burned and death. Anyway, it became a #1 bestseller overnight, and the thing was, some person just whipped it together and had it live super fast, and it caused a really big stir because it was just so inaccurate, and that sort of changed the stuff. But anyway, before that happened, I think, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the titles on Amazon publish had like quadrupled in 23 or 24, and it just made it very expensive to compete. It became very expensive. You know, just the ROI on your ads wasn't there. And you know, if you're not advertising, I haven't advertised one hit away. I haven't put $1 towards it for a long time, and that's just word of mouth. And sales trickle in, but it's nothing like it used to be. So that said, I guess I'm always an author. You know, I'm not actively writing books, and part of that is because my priorities have changed. So with my 3 kids, being a stay-at-home dad, I do lots of homeschooling, and really my energies go towards working with the kids. So I homeschool my kid. He will probably he'll go to school. I can't just not work forever. But I'm homeschooling my kids. My oldest is who I work with primarily. He's 4. My wife's grandma, Tutu, who's one of the most amazing people, not just women, person. She's just the most, she's amazing. And she's 86. She still plays tennis. She plays tennis, actually, before she comes over to our house. And she comes over 3 to 5 times a week. It depends if we're in school. And she'll come over and she'll work with my middle kid, Cubs. And she will homeschool him. And she's a retired elementary school teacher with like 38 years under her belt. So just what a gift to have for my kids to have their great grandma come over to our house. And then the baby girl just kind of runs amok and does whatever. So that's what my focus is on. So, you know, what that led to was gig work. I decided to start DoorDashing, and I've done it on and off. I have a love-hate relationship with it, but I actually started in my car, in my truck, and then I started using my wife's Tiguan, and that was nice. But then it broke, and it's been limping along for years. So I finally realized I think the chain tensioner is broken on it right now, and I've done all the maintenance myself. And I finally told her, I said, you know, I think we need to just like pull the plug. I don't think it's worth fixing. And so that's where the Vespa came into play. This Vespa has been in our carport and on the side of the house since my wife brought it here, because she owned this before we were dating, and she brought it here, I think, 2016. And we never got it legal. It sat for years and years, and finally, when her car broke, I was like, you know, what about this? What about the Vespa? Which, by the way, oddly enough, is technically a motorcycle due to the engine size. And so this Vespa that has been sitting, got a new battery. It wasn't starting. I had to rebuild the carburetor because it was filled with kind of this, I don't know how you would describe it. It was kind of like this gel. The gas had turned into almost a sticky gel. And so I rebuilt it. And then I took it out. It was running with the new battery. Everything was good. And it started to randomly stall and die. And I realized it was flooding. And there were some other parts I had to replace. So I replaced the float needle in the carburetor. I rebuilt it 3 times. And since then, not to jinx anything, but it's been running good. It's been really, super reliable, and it's just been fantastic because I found this really cool channel. Check them out, Wilcer at WILCER, Wilcer of Crank Hustle. He's the one who I started watching videos and seeing how he was delivering food, because I was like, how the hell do you deliver food on the Vespa? And I got a packer bag, so I'm packing a bag on the back of the Yak, and it's an 18-inch cube packer bag. All of this I'll link in the channel, but I built my own system, kind of inspired by the one that Wilcer has. So not to rip on his idea, I just didn't really have the money to throw at it, and I wanted to make some changes. But I saw what he was doing, and I thought that was great. So I made my own. I will support him at one point. I think I need to upgrade my packer bag to 20, just because I keep getting pizzas. I thought 18-inch would be great, but I keep getting pizzas, and I'm strapping them on top of the bag. So anyway, that's basically where we're at. What am I gonna do? Well, I live in beautiful Hawaii, and I know it's a crazy looking day. It's not the nicest, but it's actually nice for me because it's cool. That's the one thing about riding here is it's hot. The other thing is the drivers are terrible, and I have a theory about that actually. Hawaii, I think most people will agree, our drivers here are kind of out of control. People, it's just not a very safe place to ride. It's also not like we have long stretches of roads where you can go and just kick back and like go down like a coastal highway and just enjoy the views. Hawaii really has terrible traffic, and so it's not ideal for motorcycles if your intent is to just go for the ride and enjoy the ride and see where life takes you. But as for drivers, the drivers are terrible. They don't see you. They don't want to see you. Everyone's in a rush. People are aggravated. But also, and I don't think a lot of people make this connection, but I think mainly because a lot of the close calls I've had seem to be with rental cars. I think a large part of the reason why our drivers here are so terrible is because we are clearly a tourist state with a tourist economy, and that's what kind of makes Hawaii go around, like it or not. And I think that you get a lot of people here that are not from here, and they're trying to figure out where to go, and they're doing dumb stuff, and they're making illegal turns, and they're distracted, and they just don't know the roads, and they do dumb stuff and being unpredictable. That was my dad was a rider. He's like, the one, you want to be a safe biker, be predictable. And I find myself violating that at times on DoorDash because I like pass an address and slam on some brakes, and I'm like, damn, I could have got rear-ended. But being predictable, there's a correlation between predictability and safety. And so I think these drivers do things that kind of are unexpected, and that I've almost been T-boned. People will run red lights. People will do illegal U-turns. So you just got to really be mindful of the other drivers. I know how to ride. I've been riding since I was 16, and I mean on and off. I haven't, not entirely, but I got my first motorcycle. I think it was a Yamaha 600 at 16. Moped's great because I don't have to worry about shifting or anything, and it kind of frees me up to work the app and whatnot, and just kind of get where I need to go. So anyway, so I would say that the moped as a dasher or any sort of gig worker, delivery, courier is a game changer. I have found that with my truck, especially, about 25 to 30% of my earnings would be consumed by filling the tank. And what I would do is I would go and fill up my tank, start a dash, do the dash, end the dash, go back and fill up the tank, and I'd be like, okay, I just spent $36 and I made $110, and you do the math, and it's just, so it's not really viable. Look at me rambling and not even paying attention. Oh, my mom and dad live right down here. So I would encourage you, if you live in Hawaii, I mean, definitely consider the moped motorcycle route for gig work if you're comfortable and confident. Clearly it's a lot more dangerous, but there's some benefits. You're able to get in and out of places. You're able to kind of park in places that like there's, for example, there's a restaurant, Cinnamon's in Kailua, that's so good and so popular, and it's impossible to get parking within a couple blocks, especially on the weekends. And I can go down there and literally just pop the moped up on the sidewalk. I tried that once in the truck, and then people gave me this funny look, so I decided, no, just kidding. So I've been really enjoying it. It's kind of cool. It's like I get paid the ride, which is fun and nice, and I get my alone time and time to myself, and so that's a little bit about me. That's where I'm coming from. I will say for the books, one thing I will add, because I know a lot of people were kind of bummed when I was like, oh, I'm not writing. They're like, oh, you're a good writer. I'm humble, but I had people tell me, they're like, oh, too bad, and it's like, well, like, they're not paying the bills, and they can't just like do it for love. I mean, I love to write. I love to tell stories. I love the connections writing and authoring has made in my life. Now, with that said, there has been, especially when you write about addiction, my readership tends to be a lot of moms and loved ones of someone who's using, and that's hard because they reach out to me and they, what do I do? And it's always like the same story. I'm not an addict or counselor, and I can't really, my response is always the same. It's get connected locally with someone, get some support locally, reach out. There's tons of groups. There's Al-Anon. There's all this sort of other stuff. And I tend to try and point people in the right direction, but it's often the same response. Anyway, so that's the downside is maybe not the right word either, but that's the reality, I would say, of writing. And because books, I've had people reach out to me from different countries, from Australia. Books travel far and wide. All right, where are we at? Whoop. Right on. Great way to start a shift. Been having this issue with my thing not popping back into place. Quad Lock, to their credit, sent me on a new one. I just bought it. It's brand new. And they sent me on a new one, so very grateful for them for doing that, because spend $150 on your system, your quad lock, the case, the stem. You kind of expect it to work, and I just got one that doesn't snap back in place, and I almost dropped my phone. So really cool of them to hook it up and send that out. All right, so we're in Kailua now. I find Kailua is a great place to deliver. I get kind of tired in Kailua, more so than I would say Kailua, because Kailua will get a lot of orders, kind of like the Boondocks Kailua. So because Kailua is Windward Mall and a bunch of places eat, it's really popular and a lot of people order, and it tips super well. But there's just like more. Kailua doesn't really have the condos and the high rises and stuff that Kailua has, and so up and down steps, in and out of the elevators. There's just a lot more kind of grinding on this side, and also you get sent really far, and when you get sent really far, you just like Waimanalo, you get kind of dead miles on the way back. And so typically I'll work in Kailua for a bit. Today is Tuesday. And by the way, if you haven't ever heard of Aesop Rock, not ASAP Rocky, Aesop Rock. He's got a great song with Malibu Ken called Tuesday. It's one of my favorites. It's just a really great collab. And it took some getting used to, because Tobacco, who's a producer, I think, isn't like the kind of music I'm super into, but when just the collab they did on Malibu Ken, which is the album, is fantastic. I thought it was brilliant. I think he's one of the best lyricists, poets of our time, if not ever, and he just really is, I think, like one of the best artists, because he's been going for so long. He's been pumping music out since like Music for Earthworms, and just every single album I think is brilliant in its own right. And he's just constantly challenging himself. He's moved into production and just really, really going out there. So definitely check out Tuesday if you haven't already. Yeah. Well, I hope the mic's working. Time will tell. I think that I think I'm gonna get a couple of deliveries in today. My wife is leaving and taking the girl on a trip to California, and she flies out tonight. They're doing 10 days with my sister-in-law and in Crystal Cove, California. Let's see. Whoa. All right, so man's biggest folly is a fork in the road. I forget who said that. I am going to try and exit Kailua if I can. If can. If I go that way, I get a lot of orders from the mall, and those are always like, I don't know, they're not the best. But I have to get past this other shopping center, and that one is always hard. I mean, I won't say the restaurant, but there's a restaurant there, and it's just, I've never had an order ready. And every time I show up, it's like they wait till you show up to start making it. That's what I think. And I don't want to be rude. I'm not a rude person by nature, but it's like, it gets kind of old because sometimes you get an order and it's not really worth your time to begin with. And you show up and they're like, oh, hold on, it's just still being made. And then like she calls out in a different language. I'm like, I think she just placed the order, because it's always like a 5-10 minute wait, if not longer. So I try and if I have the buffer in my acceptance rate to maintain platinum, then I will typically just decline that order. Yeah, that's a good point. I should mention, so for if you're a gig worker, or if you're just interested in how gig working works, so it's kind of like a twisted game that I think these tech companies play. You know, they do the way it works, and I recently started doing Uber, so I was kind of taken aback by how similar it is to DoorDash. But the way it works is all gig workers are not created equal. So everyone starts at the same place, and I think it's silver for DoorDash and green for Uber Eats. And that's just like, you just sign up, you get, they always give you a few great, no, I don't like doing shop and delivery now. They always give you a few great orders in the beginning to get you hooked. And it's kind of like to set unrealistic expectations. Like my first order, I made like $10 in like 2 minutes. I was like, damn, like where have you been all my life? Oh man, there's a tsunami. Maybe I should go home. I feel like I'm safe where we're at. We're like high enough. (7:10 p.m. of Hanalei). Hanalei is not on Oahu. No man, pray for Hanalei, people. I would have let her cross. I didn't know she was going to cross. And I wonder if my wife's flight will get canceled. Well, it's good to know that our emergency broadcasting signal works here on Oahu. I don't know if you remember this, but when Lahaina burned, they did not set off the alarms, and a lot of people. It's believed a lot of people lost their lives tragically because they slept through the fires, and some knucklehead decided not to set it off, or whatever the reasoning was. Just Hawaii is a beautiful place, but man, the people that run it, in my opinion, many of them, not to disparage them, but there are so many idiots out there. I remember vividly years ago, with my wife, but back then my girlfriend. We were in bed, and we all got some texts about some like imminent threat of an incoming missile, and it was like the Hawaii missile crisis, and it turned out to be some Yahoo who hit the wrong button and basically sent out a mass communications to the entire island that there was an imminent threat of nuclear missiles. I don't know if nuclear was specified, but that was what everyone took it as. And there's footage of people crawling into the sewers. I mean, I get it, like go underground, right? Like people were, I can't believe this dad's putting his kids in the sewers. It's like, dude, there's survival of the. And I remember it was so interesting because both me and my wife looked at each other and we just like hugged it out. And we were living at my mom and dad's house. There's 2 houses on their property. We're living in the front house. We just, just like not letting me. Okay. We just kind of accepted our fate. We just stayed in bed. Didn't even go in the bathtub and try and hide under a desk. We just kind of accepted our fate and decided to spend our last whatever time we had left together. And it was kind of a beautiful thing. And it was also terrible for so many because, people had to call their loved ones and people were saying goodbye and people were doing all sorts of stuff that they felt called to do in the last few minutes they had here on Earth. Really kind of shows you who you are, I think, like facing imminent death. So anyway, it's good to know our system works because they had an issue with that. And I think it was working in Lahaina. I think it was a cognizant decision not to do it. And that was the part that the guy, God, I remember watching the news conferences, and the guy just was such a, so much shame. I can't imagine the shame he would feel. I would hope he would feel shame, but just, he had no answers for anything, and he was trying to put up this bravado, and he wanted to save face, and it was just such a classic example of someone who had no business in the role that they had been assigned to and entrusted to, and this guy was just basically, in many ways, responsible for the suffering of so many. So I hope he's doing good. Hope he's wherever he's at. I hope he's not in a position of power, to say the least. Now, all that to say, I'm surprised it's not busier. You would think with a tsunami threat, more people would be placing orders. And damn, I mean, if you place a no-tip order during it, actually, I will say that I am not of the mind of the no-tip, no-trip. I've taken many deliveries that were no-tip for a number of reasons, and I can tell you that a lot of drivers, especially if you hop on the Reddit thread and see, they're of like minds, and no-tip, no-trip is definitely prevalent consensus amongst gig workers, but I'm not really like that. I think that I get it. I was broke. I was homeless once, and people would say, well, you shouldn't be ordering DoorDash or using these services if you're broke. And to that, I would say, yeah, you're probably right, but I get it too, because these companies, they do charge an arm and a leg for some of the services. Not to mention that I would say that the things that you order on the app are typically inflated to begin with. So you could order the same meal for McDonald's on DoorDash and pay, $4 or $5 more for that meal than if you went in person. And then on top of that, you got the service fees, tips, if you will, and it all sort of adds up. We're going to get out of Kailua and we're going to go back to Kailua. We're going to take Cam Highway to the Poly, and we're just going to go for a nice ride. I'm not really getting orders, and I kind of want to stay close to home right now anyway. So yeah, so this is what's called dead miles. Basically, I won't get an order from here. I might get an order in Kailua, or it might try and catch me on the way out and send me back to Kailua. But basically, these are dead miles. So that might seem like a great tip because it was a $10 tip on on that trip was nice, but look at how long I've been working for, and I'm not getting paid for these miles. Another reason to consider e-bikes or scooters or motorcycles or whatnot is that it's just especially in Hawaii, the cost of gas is so high. I mean, it's like what, $4.60, $4.80, $5 for premium. It's really up there. All right. And I like how it's like threatening the rain, but not quite raining just yet. It feels nice. It's kind of ominous. It feels like that's the right word. That's the word I would pick for this weather. It's ominous. It's less foreboding and more ominous, I would say. Foreboding would be like flashes and flickers of lightning creeping over the Ko'olaus. This is just like a calm. It feels like the calm before the storm. I don't even think there's a storm coming. Man, this might have been a bad idea. There's a ton of traffic, especially 3:30. I'm not going to go this way. Yeah, because that traffic doesn't stop. That will go all the way. All right, I can go. No, I'm going to go the way I came. I'll probably catch an order here in Kailua. Yeah, I'm not going to go that way. That's what we say would be lose money. No, you don't need to stop, lady. I'm just turning around. But I was also doing something illegal. There you go again. You gotta be predictable. Predictably unpredictable. No, we don't want that. By the way, whoa. I just got hit in the face with a leaf. So, I will say this is my first time out. I recently purchased this. It's called a summer mesh shirt. It's a jacket, but I think it's billed. Oh man, I think it's billed as a shirt on the website, but it's from a company called Beyond Riders. God, no, I can't do it. It's not worth my time. But I'm not gonna fight to get into Waimanalo right now during rush hour. So this is an awesome jacket. By the way, yes, I'm wearing one of my kids' Band-Aids. Damn cat scratched me. We have two cats, Manapua and Malasada. And Manapua, they're both rescue cats. I get it. I understand why they're rescue cats. Now I know. It's like Malasada is not the one that mauls you. Manapua is just fat and miserable. And she'll swipe at me for no reason. It's like, dude, I feed you. I changed your litter box, man. I'm not even a cat guy. My wife tricked me. I am a dog person. I was a dog person my entire life. I was raised with dogs. We've got 2 dogs. And my wife... Yeah. And I don't want to go that way. I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to override it. Let's talk about cats. So my wife, tricked me. She took me on a date. No, the first cat we got from the Humane Society. Another reason I'm going to full face is I just got something in my eye, and it's terrible. Oh, man. The first cat we got from the Humane Society, tricked us. She was all sweet and purring and just what a ham. And then we brought her home, and then she just turned into this raging bitch. And she's just a miserable cat. She's sweet for the most part. 28 minutes. Dude. For real. And I'm debating canceling this order. How much is it for? Patron. that person's paying like $6. I have no idea. I don't drink, so I have no idea how much Patron is. But damn, $18 tip on top of whatever they're spending. It's up there. Thank you. I tell you what, people let you in more when they see you have a camera. Cameras change everything. I don't know if it's accountability. I don't know if they're like, what's this guy doing? So, we brought this cat home, and then my wife's like, "Well, let's go on a date." And so, you know where she took me? The cat cafe. There's a cat cafe downtown, and you go there, and there's just like adoptable cats crawling everywhere, and they're on the they're on the play structures. They're like, they jump on your table, they cuddle up and like do circles around your feet, and they're all just trying to like get out of there. Cats aren't dumb. There's a reason Egyptians worshipped them. And so we adopted this other cat, and she was so cute. And that's Malasada. Her full name is Darth Malasada. We're not even huge Star Wars buffs. We just it sounded cute, but I think and then like to keep it going, then my wife is like, "Oh, we need a third cat, Machiko," and which is also a super cute name. And oddly enough, I will say, one day I was dropping my wife's sister off. My wife's sister comes and visits a lot from California, and oh, look, a blessing. Look at this rain. What a blessing. And she was at the airport. We was dropping her off, but we were early, and so there's a cell phone waiting area, and I'm cleaning out my car rather than socializing with my sister-in-law, who I love. It's not like I was avoiding her, but I'm cleaning out my car, and I walked to a trash can, and then to get to the trash can, I stepped over this grate, and I hear this meowing from the storm drain, and I look down, and there's like these big buggy eyes of this really sweet cat, and I was like, "Holy shit! There's a cat in the storm drain," and so I went and told my sister, I'm like, "There's a cat in the storm drain," and we tried to rescue the cat, and here I am in like board shorts and olukais. Those are slippers, if you're wondering. And I crawled down into the storm drain, and there's these like, it was like the storm drain from hell. There was like red eyes glowing in the thicket, giant spiders crawling out like everywhere. Like all of a sudden I'm surrounded by cobwebs. It was like that scene with Frodo, and it was just, and this cat, I thought it was a trap. I was like, "Oh, this is a trap. Like this is like it's like the definition of a trap." And anyway, so the cat left, and so I felt super bad, and I went and I actually borrowed a cat trap from my parents' company, because they do TNRs with tag and release with stray cats on Sand Island, and I got this cage from them, and we went down, and then ironically enough, just like today, how there's like a tsunami, there was like a flash flood. So I put this cage down with this food, and then I felt horrible because I'm like, if I trap this cat in the storm drain and it floods, I don't know the geotechnical designs of storm drains. I was like, I don't know if I'm condemning this poor kitty to hell. And so we like pulled it back up, and then decided just to leave food. So we just fed it. And then I was like, you know what, like, know your limits. I ended up reaching out on a Facebook group. There's Paw Posse, but there's also like the cat people. There's a bunch of crazy cat people groups. And there's like a dude, and that's what he does. That's like his thing, is rescuing cats, like specifically from storm drains. He's like known for it. And this dude, I think his name is Brett, went down and sure as shit got the cat. And then they're like, "Hey, we got your cat." And I was like, "Our cat? It's not our cat." I just like, they're like, "Yeah, can you like foster the cat?" And my wife was like, "Oh yeah, let's foster him." And then meanwhile, my wife, who's pregnant, we end up fostering this cat, and then bring this cat home, and then the cat has like crazy ringworm. And so we have cats, and then the young kids, and my wife is pregnant, and dogs. And I was like, shit, we have like, I can't have this cat with ringworm, coexisting in our house. So I ended up, we created a cat, put Mochiko in our carport, and then I had to go and basically like take care of Mochiko for a few weeks and then do the ringworm baths, and so it just was this whole mess. We ended up actually, Machiko got rehomed, and my wife never lets me forget it because she still thinks about Machiko, and like, you know, wonders how Machiko's doing. I do too, but I'm thinking he's having a good time at his home that would love him more than we ever possibly could. And my wife is like, oh, like Machiko. And anyway, moral of the story is, my wife tricked me into marrying her without fully revealing herself as a crazy cat lady in the making. I mean, like she doesn't share anything about the kids, but she got on this like kick of sharing reels about kitties, and it's just, of course, right? So I mean, I love her. It's funny, but it's also, you know, definitely. I didn't see that coming. I guess that's marriage, though, and people change or whatever. All right, so we're going back over. I call this a pass. You might be laughing if you live in a mountain town, and you're like, "What? That's like a slight incline." But to me, this is a pass, and this is. I feel like this is how you get from. You know, this is one way to get from Paniolos to Kailua. And honestly, that traffic, especially at the light at the Poly where it intersects Cam Highway, is terrible. And so there'll be traffic here too, turning onto Oniava, but it won't be anything, I think. And let's see. Dude, how are we 23 minutes? That can't be right. Like, well, whatever. It doesn't show traffic. Maybe it's accounting for traffic. I'll tell you, there's times I wish Hawaii had its shit together and allowed bikes to filter, if not shoulder. Like, come on. Like, if people are so weird, you know, they like, oh, you're cutting. And it's like, dude, you know, you could be doing this. If shouldering was legal, I'd be like, you could be doing this too if you had a bike. Like, it's not my fault that you don't have a bike. And, you know, there is a big danger to not being able to shoulder and mainly or filter, especially at stoplights. And the danger is that you can get rear-ended quite easily. And if you don't leave yourself out, you can not only just get rear-ended, but you can get like thrown into the car ahead of you. All right, let's see if I can cut over. Okay, I got my turn signal on. That person is cutting over. All right. So I'm gonna be that guy, and we'll just have to sleep with ourselves at night. But this is probably why it's 23 minutes, and it's all these people that are trying to turn, because there's just one light up here to get into Kailua. I guess the other way would be to take Dump Road. Does it even let me select Dump Road? Tsunami warning. I should say we are entering tsunami zone. Again, Coconut Grove up here, which is kind of this whole flat area just past the Martian, is basically beach level. So that's a story about Machiko. I gotta tell you, this motovlogging thing is fun. I imagine many people that bike, and I'm not saying I am interesting by any means, but I imagine quite a bit of motovloggers out there probably don't have shit to say. I don't necessarily have shit to say, but see, that guy's on it. You know, let's just do that, Jim. Sorry, buddy. I'm gonna do this just for fun, also because the traffic is going to take a long time, and I don't want to cut them all off. So this is called Dump Road. It's called Dump Road because the dump is over here. Also, people dump, illegal dump, and there's one spot specifically that they dump. And I don't, you know, you saw that mattress back there. You know, people are like, well, why do they like come so close to the dump and then just dump on the side of the road? And what happens? And not because I've ever done it, because I haven't done it, because I'm not, you know, I respect Aina and I grew up here, and also I don't live here. But what happens is people either come and the dump is closed, or they get turned away for whatever reason. It could be that they could be in a commercial vehicle with commercial plates, and then they're like, "Oh, you can't dump here. You have to go to a paid dump site." So there's a number of reasons why the dump will turn you away. It could be the material you have. I once came, I learned this the hard way. I came with a bunch of broken up concrete, and they're like, "No, you can't dump that. You have to go pay to have it dumped." I was like, "What?" And so that's why, not to justify it, but I imagine that's why most people dump, is they probably come with the intention to do the right thing and then get turned away, and they're like, "Well, I'm not taking this home, so whatever." And then the other thing is there's no enforcement. Like I don't even think that there's like a community group that sets up trail cams or spy cams. And it would be so easy because it's the same spot every time. It's like just put up a camera and it'd probably stop half the people. But people they're just lazy. Or then like, who's gonna do the camera? Who's gonna check the footage? Who's got the time? Who cares? And that's what it just comes down to, is like, it's not a problem that people care about. Everyone looks down on it, but no one cares enough to do anything about it. And that's myself included, because I had a camera that I thought about putting out once, and I was like, "Oh, someone will probably just steal it and whatever." But the spot is not to encourage legal dumping, so I'm not telling you this is where to come and dump. But the place where people come and dump is right up here. You'll see, and it's right over this hill, and that's because that was a dump back there, so they get turned away. And let's see, it gets cleared out quite frequently, which I think like the dump does, and so it's like pretty clean. Oh no, it's not. So that's all the shit. And sometimes it'll like abut the road, the amount of trash that's out there. 14 minutes away. Sorry guys, you're stuck with me for the next 14 minutes. While we're at it, I feel like I should mention I'm a new channel. I have no subscribers. I have one subscriber, that's myself. So I have no subscribers. So if you're interested in motovlogging, Hawaii, Vespa, gig work, DoorDash, any of that stuff, now would be the time, before I forget, where I implore you, like, comment, subscribe. You don't have to share or anything like that. Let's just enjoy this trip. I'm going to shut up for a minute. So effectively, the traffic that we circumvented this is a poly. God, it's a terrible. It's not like the best time to be out doing what I'm doing, mainly because everyone's coming home from work and it's rush hour. I would say from 3:30 to 5 is terrible, and I don't think it's peak pay or any bonus or anything. But I did it because I was so excited to get out and try my new microphone. I'm like that. I'm excited easily. I get excited easily. And my mic came in, and I just wanted to go and test it out, and I hope it's working good. We'll see. I will say I'm the kind of guy that I do a lot of when there's something I want to do, I really do a lot of research. I like the research part, and so I was looking at lavalier mics or lapel mics, and the option I went with was eventually the Mic Mini, and I think I just didn't want to futz around with the cabling and whatever, and I think it's good enough. If you can hear me, you get the idea of what I'm saying and where I'm coming from. That's pretty much all it's about. I'm just kind of sharing a little bit about me, about the beautiful place that I love, and that's it. And then gig work and then side hustles and whatnot, and having fun. And I think it's gonna be. I think we're also. I should add protection too. So mainly, I almost got doored at the first video I posted. ever. The first day I went out filming when my Action Pro came in, I was just riding around Kailua, and I almost got doored by some dude who threw his door open without looking. And thankfully, I was paying attention. I watched the video a couple times. I was like, "What did I do wrong here?" And probably the mistake that I made, not that I was at fault, but the mistake that I made when I watched that video was I was a little too close for comfort, and I should have, you just got to leave yourself out, right? And fortunately, I was far enough away that it was just like, whoa, I don't think I was actually gonna get hit, but it was probably like maybe 4 or 5 inches from my rearview mirror. And so that was the lesson learned in that, is just like always assume a door can open and basically give yourself that buffer zone, because honestly, it doesn't matter who's at fault when you get in an accident like that. If you're the biker or bicyclist, it hurts and you could get hurt. And I don't care who's at fault. I would rather, I don't want to, it's not like I feel good about myself for like, oh, I'm not at fault if you get hurt. I would rather just not get hurt and avoid the situation altogether. So that was the learning experience. The other thing I'll share, and I remember as a kid, I would always watch bikers kind of hugging the lines. And I asked my dad, because my dad's was a biker. Actually traveled. He was in the military, and he always had a bike, especially in Japan. And I remember asking him, Dad, why do bikers do that? Why don't they ride in the center of the road? And he's like, oh, well, because in the center of the road, cars, drip oil. You see right there? Right where I'm riding on. And, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of vehicles pass over that place dripping oil. It becomes slick. And so where do they not drip oil? On where the tires are. And so they will drive here. But the problem is our roads suck. And there's like, what else is there? Potholes. And there's just, so like you can't win. You really can't win. Like Hawaii roads suck. Department of Transportation, everything about them, in my humble opinion, is ass backwards. The guys that are running it, I won't get into that because it's a whole, that in and of itself is a whole other story. But I will say, like, I find myself riding in the center because it's just a smoother ride. It's just a smoother, like, everywhere you look, especially on some of the, like, lower income neighborhoods where the roads are worse, because they really do, depends where you live, but really, like, the infrastructure is not the same everywhere you go. But you see how, like, they're just super bumpy where the wheels are. That's just, so I find myself, and I don't like riding very close to the lane lines because that's dangerous in and of itself. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, there is no winning here. I'm surprised I didn't cancel this job. But, I wanted to come back to Kailua anyway. Dang, look at this traffic. This is not the best time to be out and about. I'll tell you that. See, that sucks. That dude is just stuck, Anyway. Young man right here passed away, juvenile. Wearing a motorcycle, hit that speed hump a few months ago, lost control, slammed into the guardrail, and lost his life. Way too young. Way too young. Those speed humps out here are such a nuisance. I'm not for them. I think that a lot of the decisions are made out of wanting to control people. And at a certain point, you have to accept that life is dangerous and that you can't control every aspect of every danger. And when you try and do stuff to intervene, sometimes you're gonna cause more issues. And that young man lost his life hitting a speed hump, which is a device that's installed for traffic calming. And it's sad. And my heart breaks for the family. All right, so this is Keolu. Keolu is a part of Kailua. It's still the same area, 96734, but it's definitely When you say Keolu or Enchanted Lakes, people know what section you're talking about. By the way, this is Enchanted Lakes. Check it out. Someone once told me, tell me if you see it. I think Enchanted Lakes is man-made, and they said it was the shape of a dolphin. And I've either they were yeah. Do you see a dolphin there? Let me know if you see a dolphin there. I most definitely don't see a dolphin there. This is the only way in and out of Waimanalo. And it's a consideration if you ever decide to live out there because, all it takes is one accident. And I've seen gridlock traffic from, all the way back to Castle Hospital. And you can't, what are you going to do? What do you do if you have to get in Waimanalo? And so that's the hard part with orders, especially during rush hour. It's not so bad at night because you can just, you can go 40, 50 and you can get in Waimanalo in no time. Yeah, you got the dead miles to contend with on the way back. But really you need to factor that into any decision you make. And often, when I'm doing DoorDash, I don't know if you've noticed, but we get maybe 30 seconds to make a determination if an order is worth our time. And the way that I typically do is there's a number of factors that I'll consider. The first thing is I look at the amount, and then I will look at the distance, the miles for the trip. And I'll do a really simple division. And if it's $2 a mile, that's good. Sometimes we get orders of $3, $4, or $5 a mile. That's even better. The next will be if it's plus. So say it's like $10, but it'll say plus total will be higher. A lot of times those will convert into like $20 orders. And I think they do that because it kind of makes it addictive because you're like, wow, I wonder how much I'll get if I really do it. And sometimes it's only an extra $1 or $2, but I've had a $10 order plus total will be higher convert into like $20 or $30. And that really can make a difference. I think about my acceptance rate because I won't lose money taking orders just to maintain a high acceptance rate, but I can tell you that there is a notable difference from platinum to gold and from gold to silver. Primarily is that you get the catering orders and the larger tips. I think, this, at least that's what they say, is delivered to or offered to the platinum drivers first, and then it goes from there. So if I lose platinum, I've done them both. I've not cared about acceptance rate, and I was working with like a 20% acceptance rate. And I'll tell you anecdotally, as it may be, and you may be market dependent, but my experience has been it's night and day. And being a platinum, I just posted a video last night. I made $50 an hour the other day. And I actually will set a maximum amount I can earn a week. I have a fixed dollar amount, and if I hit $500 for the week, I'm done, and I just go spend time with the kids or catch up with yard work. And I had to do that because I've got that personality where I'll keep going, and it's not really fair to my wife, if she's got to put the kids down every night. And even though the money helps, and who couldn't use a few extra bucks in their pocket, I got to cap myself, because if I don't cap myself, I'll just keep going and I'll overwork and I'll get exhausted. And so, yeah. So anyway, so the decisions I make is the amount, the distance, my ratings, and then like the direction. So if it's, I factor in the return, if it sends me from Kailua to Kailua, but I'm tired, I don't really want to go to Kailua because I'll get stuck in Kailua, or I have to just, end the dash and then come home. I've never been here. I've gotten a few offers, but I've never actually picked up from here. So let's see. You see how quick the weather changed? Hey, how's it going? Sir, I have a pickup for Picked up for Hassan. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Yeah. Hey, not till 7, right? No, I'll be done. I'll be home by then. Yeah, you stay safe too. That guy knows what time it is. All right. Now, let me do something. All right, I'm going to share something. So I'm in recovery. I before I got into drugs in college, I was a heavy drinker, and I was a binge drinker specifically, and I would go on like 2-week binges, and my whole life was just since I was 16, maybe even 15, until that age, my whole life was just it was just a mess, because I would have bouts of sobriety between See, I was like gonna let him go, but it's hard because when the other side is not going, I'd have like, I was fighting with it. I was fighting the drinking, and I once looked at my call. I recently applied and got accepted as a transfer student to UH Manoa, and I was looking at my transcript, and you could literally see evidence by my grades when I was not drinking, because I would have straight A's, and then the next term it would be D's and F's and withdrawals and stuff. And so, anyway, so I was just a really heavy drinker, and that's sort of part of how I got introduced to heroin in college was it's in my book, but basically someone who lived in a dorm was seeing me kill myself with alcohol and was like, "What are you doing? Like, there's got to be a better way." And he introduced me to what he said was opium, and opium, which wasn't opium, was heroin. But it's just, I don't know. And I went for it because I was intoxicated, and I just I didn't really care, which is crazy when I think about that time in my life, especially now as a dad with kids. But the point was, I was such a heavy drinker. Oh, I know this dude. Oh man, this guy is the man. This dude is so cool. All right, I'm talking about the guy I'm delivering to. I know exactly where I'm going. This dude's cool. Anyway, so I'm 15 years sober, and they call it a program of recovery. My program of recovery has changed so much, especially in recent years, because I would say my life is not my own. I mean, I have to take care of myself to be a good dad, but my life is for my kids, and I am not just a random chain in the row. I am not the priority. But when it comes to staying sober, what I did, it was really hard to get clean sober. It was super hard to detox. I didn't sleep for like a month or two. Even with the medical detox at Hooper Detox in Oregon before I went to Sand Island Treatment Center, I didn't sleep for a long time. It was physically difficult, and mentally it was a struggle. But you change and you heal, and your priorities shift. And there was a time where I would do multiple, especially in treatment, where I would do multiple AA meetings a day, and I can't tell you the last time I've gone to an AA meeting. And part of that is because I'm just in such a good spot. I feel like I did the legwork in early recovery, And I bring this up because, to walk into a liquor store and to pick up a bottle of Patron for someone with my background, for some people who have a similar background, would be really hard for them. I'm so fortunate and grateful I don't have that issue. I remember I was once in a meeting and I heard someone talking about they took the wrong turn in Safeway and suddenly found themselves face to face with the alcohol aisle, and they busted out in sweats. I was trying to figure out the right way to say it. Busted out in sweats. And I okay, that was, and that's got to be so terrible, That's got to be so. I can't imagine having to deal. I don't know if I could do it. I mean, am I sure I'm? That they just drives golf ball at me. These crazy kids. Tiki man. That I don't know if I would. I mean, yeah, I would do it because again, it's just I don't drink and don't do drugs, and I keep it simple. But I remember thinking to myself, that sounds miserable and so terrible. If you can to imagine not being able to trust yourself walking into a store, and the dude was 20 years sober. And he was, I guess, the lesson he was trying to convey was it never ends. And I don't know, different strokes for different folks. I'm in a good spot mentally. I mean, I still have my ups and downs, and life isn't, all that glitters is not gold. Yeah, you know where I'm coming from. And if you can relate, you know exactly what I mean. I'm just in a different headspace. And so the point is this, what I'm trying to say, and it took me a long time to say it, is stuff like that doesn't bother me. My wife drinks. We got alcohol in the house. We go camping. She has beers. There's wine. It's not I don't know. It's not an issue. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. What more is there to say? That's pretty much it. That really is as much as what it comes down to. It really is that simple. It's black and white. There's no gray area. And I don't know. And I have to shout out Sand Island Treatment Center because they really gave me such a solid foundation to get to this point. Now they would say, they want you to stay tapped in. I'm still in good standing with the treatment center, especially because of my advocacy with writing and whatnot. And I really am in a good space. I didn't take that order because Los Garcias, shout out to the one the best Mexican spot on this side in my opinion, but because they're so good, they're super. Damn. Let's try it. Because they're so good, I just haven't had the best experience picking up food. And I shouldn't say that because I don't want to put down the restaurant or anything, but it's hit or miss. A lot of these places you'll find are hit or miss. And then the Safeway thing, if someone's ordering groceries, and we'll see. I have no idea how big that order might be, and I may or may not be able to take it. So we will. There's only one way to find out. You'd be surprised what you can pack on this, but then the issue is doubling it. So doubling the order. So where's it going to be first? California Pizza Kitchen. California Pizza Kitchen is the same, man. They really are also equally. Yeah, you know, it's any place that has good food and high demand, especially during the dinner rush, is busy. Yeah, I don't know. Am I gonna be able to get over? I know a trick. Hey, what's up, babe? Hello? Hey. Well, I'm doing a delivery right now. You said 7, right? Yeah. So I don't know. Do you want me to come home after this order? Okay. So I'll work for a bit. I'm making pretty good money. So yeah, but maybe I'll work for a little bit and then be home. I probably will come home before 7.
So I'm going to take a nap. I'm trying to take a nap.
Okay, cool. All right, sounds good. Love you. Bye. I tell you what, you want to learn your community? I can't think of a better way if you got the time and the means than getting out there and doing delivery. I'll say my favorite job. I've had so many different jobs in life. A lot of them have been also, self-employed. I've done lots of little different business startups, just things that are interesting, like from glass making to authoring, all this sort of stuff. But one of my favorite jobs, and it has a really special place in my heart, and maybe that's what this harkens to, because I really have fun doing DoorDash, but it was being a pizza delivery driver at this joint, a pizza joint called Hot Lips Pizza in Portland. And I remember they had multiple, I think they had 5 locations at the time, all over Portland and the greater Portland area. And the one downtown, there's a couple downtown, there's one in the Pearl District, but the one by Portland State University, right across from the dorm that I lived in, was just like, that was a place to be. And they served beer, and the managers were super cool. And I was a delivery guy, and I had really flexible hours, and they would let me work when I wanted to, and they would feed you, and they would also feed you on your off days. So I don't know if this is you could just like pop in and just grab pizza. And I remember the chef, the pizza guy, would like sometimes just like make extra pizza kind of close to closing, knowing that they would, not sell, and then we could take them home. And there's a lot of stuff. That's my mother-in-law. Oh, and she's probably worried about us. Gotta take this call. Hey, Shelly. Hey, what's up?
Hey, well, I just called because I just heard you guys are under a snow.
Yeah, I hear that it's gonna come in a couple hours and hit Honolulu or something like that.
Oh, Honolulu, you mean the
Yeah. I think so. I'm out and about. I'm just running around on the scooter doing some DoorDash. I'm gonna go home in like an hour, and then Chelsea flies out tonight. Yeah. Yeah, assuming her flight doesn't get canceled. So yeah, I'm gonna go home shortly. I just got the alert on my phone.
Yeah, I just heard. So it's a pretty big one, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big plane. So, all right, well, I was just checking. I just want to make sure you guys
All right.
it's not big here.
We'll stay in touch and we'll keep our phones charged. Okay.
Okay, all right. Talk to you later.
All right. Love you. Bye.
Love you too.
I tell you, that was my mother-in-law calling to check on us because of the tsunami, inbound tsunami. I love my mother and father-in-law. I love my sister-in-laws. I got two of them, and I'll tell you, I mean, if you knew me, you'd be like, well, who doesn't like Jordan right now? But I have definitely dated girls in the past whose family hated me, namely the one when I got on drugs, because that was just bad for everyone involved. Her stepfather hated me, and I don't blame him. I mean, I was not a good. It's not that I was a bad guy, but I was not in a good place, and I get exactly, especially as a girl dad now, I know exactly where he's coming from. I love that I have such a good relationship with my mother and father-in-law, and they're really, really solid, salt of the earth, like good-hearted, kind, generous, loving people. And they live in Georgia. They moved to Georgia from California because my sister-in-law, one of them, one's in California, one's in Georgia. Her and her husband, who's retired from the military, they planted roots in Georgia and Savannah. And so my mother and father-in-law, to be close to their grandkids, made the life-altering decision to relocate out of California. Part of it, I think, was politics, but a lot of it, and also they wanted land because they're in the season of life where they wanted to basically like raise chickens and grow their own food and all that sort of stuff. And so they basically are in Georgia, which is hard on us because when you love someone, you want to see them as much as possible. But the good news is that like I talked about earlier, my wife's grandma is here, and so my mother-in-law is from here, and so my wife, even though she's not from here, her mom's from here, and her mom my mother-in-law grew up in Hawaii Kai, and so she comes back now and then to see her mom. So it's nice because it's not just there's more draw to Hawaii than just us and her grandkids. Like she wants to see her mom, who's 86, and while healthy, is 86 is 86, and so I wish I could see them more often. Really love them. Those guys have been so good to me. They have accepted me kind of for who I am. They want the best for me. They love me as a son, and that's pretty much all you could ask for. And then they're just really good, really great grandparents. So our kids are super fortunate because not only do they have a fantastic grandma on my wife's side, but then my mom and dad live in Kailua. I should probably call them because they live on the water, and I don't know what way. This is probably gonna be my last order, and I'm gonna head home. I don't know which way the tsunami is coming, if it's coming, but we haven't been hit by a large tsunami since I was a kid, I think, best I can remember. So I should probably get home. I'm sure my wife is concerned. Imagine your husband's out on a Vespa doing DoorDash with an oncoming tsunami. But the good news is those things are pretty predictable, I think. So they had time, down to the minute where they're assessing it's going to impact. And so at least they have an idea when they think it's going to hit. 4:20, so at 7:10, we got just shy of 3 hours. So, I got plenty of time to wrap this up, call it a day, and go home. I'm not going to DoorDash for the next 10 days because, actually, I take that back. My parents will probably take the kids on Friday, which frees me up. So I might go out and get a shift in. Not that I have to, but that I want to. And we'll see. kind of, I haven't had an order I couldn't take yet on the scooter, but 5 items at Safeway can mean anything. I've gotten to pick up 1 item from Safeway, and the 1 item, because it's ordered through the Safeway app, and then DoorDash doesn't really know what it is. 1 item could be like 5 bags, and so you never know. A tsunami could be coming, and someone could order, a ton of bottled water, or who knows what. I might have to. We'll see. I'll go in and we'll see what we see. But I have a feeling it's going to be more than I'm able to carry. And I tell you what, if I can learn one thing in life, is you can trust your gut. I don't know if it's that women's intuition. I've got some of that going. Maybe I learned it from my mom. You're right enough. You learn these streets. There's a really crazy pothole right about here coming up. You'll see it. Yeah, it's not a pothole. It's a manhole cover that's inset. I've hit this once when I was falling too close behind a car, and I learned my lesson. Let's see. Right there. Ugh. Oh, I should have gone straight. No, that's all right. I hate to say it, but I wouldn't be surprised if my wife's flight gets canceled. Although, she flies out tonight, hours past the tsunami. So it's, either it hits or it doesn't. Either it affects us or it doesn't. One thing we do know is it's out of our control. So even though there's parking spots, I'll park up here just because I don't need to take one. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be able to take the Safeway order. I say that because there's drinks in this order. I'm at the right spot. Did they shut down for the tsunami order? Or the tsunami warning? I don't see anyone. Let's call support. Sometimes when the app glitches, a simple reset is all it takes. You can't see it, but there's an ant on the back of my camera. And then sometimes when an app reset doesn't work, yeah, what a day. I think that's one of the things I like about this too is, besides the flexibility to just work a couple hours here and there, every day is different. You never know what you're gonna run into. It's frustrating. It's not always easy. There's stuff like this. There's orders not ready. But generally speaking, especially in the like sunset hours, it's hard in traffic because of limitations and being on a bike. Sometimes it's hot. But I'll tell you, I'm not sweating in this mesh jacket. This Beyond Riders. I know. Watch. It's gonna take. Even if they have percent it, it's almost never worth it because it takes so long to get a hold of someone.
I have noticed that you have a Dasher account with DoorDash. Are you listening in on the Dasher?
Yes.
We can see you were on the way to Safeway. Are you calling in because you were having trouble getting to the store?
No.
Okay. Please give me a brief description of what you need help with.
The store is closed. Talk to agent.
This session may be monitored or recorded for quality assurance and training purposes. Your continued participation in this session will be considered as express consent to be monitored or recorded. Please stay on the line after your call for a brief survey about your experience.
God, I hate this music. People think I'm just like rocking out to this music. Hi, I'm calling. I'm on a double dash right now, and the restaurant I went to before Safeway, where I'm at, is closed. Hawaii has a tsunami watch, and I think they closed because there's a active tsunami, like there's a tsunami warning. So can you have? Yeah, no one's there. It's completely locked up. It's the California Pizza Kitchen. Can you half percent that though?
Let me check it.
Okay.
Let's see if we can report that the search closed. Search because you can that's delivery anymore. But one moment.
Okay, thank you.
By the way, you have reached Premium Dasher support. Congratulations for being one of our platinum dashers. And yep, I found the order from California Pizza Kitchen.
Okay.
Are you still at the store?
I'm a block away at Safeway. I just went to Safeway to pick up the other order because it was a double. So I'm.
Jordan, for reporting store closures, we actually have to do it with the app that you will be prompted to take a photo, after which the order will be canceled and you will get the compensation. Are you able to go back?
I'll go back. I'll go back right now. All right. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Do you know how to do it or do you want to wait?
I'll figure it out. Thank you.
Do it on the help option.
Okay.
Problem. Have you resolved your issue today?
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much again for calling.
Yeah, bye. Never actually had to report a store close. My buddy just texted me and asked, "Am I staying or going for the tsunami?" I don't know. He's not from here. Look, I'm not an idiot, so it's not like I just throw caution to the wind. But I'm also, damn it. Oh my God. God, these handles are such a joke. What do you think, guys? I don't think that's going to make it. All right, we'll figure this out. I normally don't drive on the sidewalk. It's a tsunami warning. And there was a bunch of cars behind me. And they didn't look like they were going to let me go. We're good. I'm confident. Once we're underway, I'll hold this bag. I have a lot of faith in the rack on the back because I have put a bunch of heavy stuff in there before. And it was, hasn't failed me. It hasn't failed me now. Although I feel like I should, be careful with what I say and how I say it. All right, so back to the, am I leaving for the tsunami? Where do I go to? I'm on a hill. I'm not going to tell you guys where I live, but my home is high. It's one of the highest points in Kailua, short of going up to Poly. And so I don't think we are at risk. I'm worried about my mom and dad. They live literally on the water. Their house is surrounded on 3 sides by water. They have they're in a bay, so that's good. The bay is nice because that's protective. But actually, it's counterintuitive. But they live across from the Marine Corps base, and the Army Corps of Engineer years ago. I don't think they're in the floodplain, which you would think. You're like, well, you're on the water. You have a rock wall. That's ocean water right there. How are you not on the floodplain? But I think that they've done studies and shown it's like highly unlikely for Kailua Bay to flood. All right, so even though I have all these groceries, I'm not going out of sight. Oh my gosh. This was not worth it. All right, where does Auntie live? 10 minutes. It's okay, we got this. I love shepherds. So you'll notice I shoulder check always. That's something my mama taught me when I was learning to drive. And I'll admit, my mom is she's a good driver. But I'll admit that has saved me from so many accidents. Probably why I've never been in an accident in my life. I mean, I've been rear-ended at a stoplight, and I have, but I've never been in like a crash. Here I go again. Like, careful what I talk about. But I attribute a lot of that is to my mom instilling just like basic survival on the roads, like basic survival instincts. Always check, even when you assume. The only time I don't check is when I can safely feel like it's impossible to be. For example, if I pass a car and there's no way that there could be a car there, then I don't. But generally speaking, I check, and even then, sometimes I do. It's really just ingrained in me, especially as a dad who's got a lot to live for and a lot of life left. And I've had second chances. I want to make the most of them in life. And so I definitely try my best to ride safe. Now, see, normally I would be outside these bumps, but I'm not like whipping it so much. Yeah, so all in all, I'd say it was a pretty good shift. I think I'm going to call it after this delivery and head home. I think that my wife needs me home. I think she's scared, and she'll never say she's scared. She's just that type of person. Not that she's not expressive, but I think that she, like, when she's stressed, she's not stressed. You know what I mean? Like, I know she's stressed, but she'll rarely be like, stressed. She internalizes a lot of stuff, but I know her well enough, or maybe I just think I know her well enough, but. I'm pretty intuitive. I'm intuitive. Street smart-ish. Street smart-ish. All right, so we got 5 minutes left. I think I did what I set out to do, mainly to test the mic. Hope it works. Hope it sounds good. I really am. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I think I'm going to have a blast. You might learn a thing or two. I have a friend who has often told me, because we talk a lot on Clubhouse, and she's an author too, but she's often told me, you need to do a vlog. She's like, the most interesting things happen to you. Now, I wouldn't say the most interesting things happen to me. And it's not that my friend is like a boring square. But then again, like, it's one of those things that I don't have anything to compare it to. This is the only life I know. So like, if something happens to me, it might not be a big deal, but she's like, that's not normal. It's not normal for like that sort of thing to happen or whatever. And I don't know, it reminds me, I was born with anosmia, meaning I don't have a sense of smell. At least, I mean, I've asked my mom, I'm like, did I ever have a sense of smell? She's like, no, no, not really. So I don't have a sense of smell. I have a sense of taste, but that's because the tongue can inherently taste like sweet, sour, the list, because I don't. And people were like, well, like, how does it affect your taste? And it's like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't have anything to compare it to. There's only one taste I have. I do tend to like sweet and sour things, and I definitely like spicy things. And I've thought before, perhaps it's because you can feel the food, and maybe I'm making up for not being able to taste the food. But I definitely can't smell, but I can taste at least. I can't tell you there's like hints of forgotten oak or whatever. Like I'll never be a sommelier. Not that I don't drink, so there's a number of reasons why I'll never be a sommelier. Speaking of which, that reminds me, I once went on a date. Oh, is that? No, it's not Vespa. I once went on a date with this girl, and look at that guy. He's like, that's kind of cool. Definitely see him coming. I went on a date with this girl once when I was dating. Not like, obviously when I was dating, not like last week, because I've been married for a long time. But I went on a date with this girl once, and it was so funny because we were just kind of talking about life. Like, I was a lot younger. Like, well, what do you want to do? Like, what? And she's like, oh, I'm going to school to be a sommelier. And I didn't say it, but I was like, probably not a good fit. But in hindsight, that was a lot earlier in my journey when I was like, didn't think I could associate with someone who drank. I've learned, especially being married to someone, my wife has a very healthy relationship with alcohol. And it boggles my mind to see like beer in the fridge for days on end when I would like 1,000% have drank everything in the fridge that night. So I see this and I'm like, oh, that's what like a healthy relationship looks like with alcohol. Oh, you like don't have to finish the bottle of wine, or oh, someone can give you some vodka and you like don't have to open it that night and drink it. It didn't compute at first, and then now I've seen it long enough that I see what it looks like coming from a different, like a healthy relationship. So anyway, yeah, so that's all about me. So again, I'm gonna be at this person's house in a minute. I'm gonna drop off the food. Vesperado, 808. That's the new. Oh, that's a cool house. That's a new site, the new handle. So stay tuned. We're gonna see how long this lasts. Hopefully it sticks around for a bit because I'm having a lot of fun. I'll admit I'm a little stressed right now because like the bike is super heavy and I can't really put my feet down. If you're wondering why I'm like cornering so slow, it's because I don't want to like lean too much or whatever. But yeah, Vesperado 808. I'm happy that you're here. I think that this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really hoping that things don't fall off the back right now because that would be terrible. But yeah, so let me know below if you have any questions, if there's anything you're interested, if there's any places you want to see. Right now, my plan is to kind of just stick to the east side or the windward side of Oahu, which is, my stomping grounds, the Waimanalo, Kailua, Kaneohe. But I will at some point, for sure, take a trip to Waikiki. I'm definitely going to explore Waikiki. If anything, just because it will be a challenge. I think it's honestly going to suck. I think there's a lot of people that are going to be in hotels and expect you to run stuff up to like the 18th floor. Like, leave it at my door, and they're in like a penthouse with, no access or whatever. All right. Okay, and we're here. I'm gonna turn this off. All right, have a good day. Aloha. You meet the most interesting people, and I turned it off out of respect because the customer came out. He's like, hey, he's like, right on, brother. Like, oh, I have that 1985 Westphalia van again. Okay. He's like, he thought it was funny. I was on the Vespa, but he's like, hey, go home. What are you doing out being out? I'm like, wait, well, you ordered food. Like, someone's got to deliver your food. And he's like, didn't you hear about the tsunami? I was like, yeah, I'm going home. I'm on my way. And he's like, I asked him, I said, what side is it going to hit? Because I've been working. I haven't really had a chance. And he said, it doesn't matter. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, it doesn't matter. We're an island. He said, no matter where it hits, just like with the big north swells, it's going to wrap. It's going to wrap the island. He's like, so it could hit, even if it hit Waikiki side, you can get the full-blown effect. But he's, I don't know, even though I grew up in Hawaii, I don't know what beach Hanalei faces. I just don't. Maybe I should, but I don't. But he was explaining to me, he said, if it hits Kailua, oh man, that guy was so cool. He had like glassy blue eyes, kind of looked like an oracle. It's hard to describe. Probably pterygiums from surfing is what I would actually imagine. But he's like, if it hits, he's like, come. And he took me not to his backyard, but the side of the house, and he showed me where you could see Kailua Marsh. And he's like, if it hits, and even if it hits like North Shore, it wraps. Like that's how you get such like Pyramid Rock on the Marine Corps base gets such good surf it's a North Shore facing beach, so it gets wrapped when there's a big swell, a wrap, but it's on the east side. And he was like, if it hits and it wraps, even if it doesn't hit Kailua side, it can. He's like, if it wraps, and it wraps up into the marsh, and it floods all of Coconut Grove, all of those houses. It's crazy. So, we're lucky that we're like a house on a hill. My friend was asking what he's going to do. I should tell him he should come over. I'm going to call him and tell him he's welcome to come over to our house to ride it out. But, I'm leaving because I'm taking my wife to the airport, which is but that's later. So her flight's at 9, but that means she wants to be there at 7. Tsunami's going to hit at 7. We should, I'm sure she's done research and we'll figure out, what the plan is. But anyway, it just was interesting. What a like foreboding response. At least the day turned nice. All right, so I'm going to call it. That's that. That was a pretty good. Let's look at the totals. What do we got? Hour 44 minutes. $44. A lot of that was just trying to figure out how to get that thing loaded, all those bags loaded. And we'll talk about traffic. So, 3 deliveries, $44. Pretty good, honestly. Like, not bad. Not mad at that. I don't get mad easily. But I think, I think I'll do a follow-up. I'll let you guys know. I'll let you know what happens. Or I'm sure if it's devastating, it'll be international news. There's a lot of people who are probably saying a lot of prayers right now, hoping that things don't take a turn for the worse. We'll see. I have faith. Hopefully, it's not that big, but I'm telling you, man, tsunamis are nuts. It's hard to predict, and the ocean water is the most powerful force on the planet. And I've watched enough movies, even though I don't typically watch movies. I've seen enough movies with tsunamis and stuff to just know the devastation it can cause. And pray for Hawaii. We'll hope everything goes good. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun. Actually, oddly enough, editing is the most fun. So, all right, I could probably ramble on forever. I won't subject you to that. Hey, everyone. Again, Jordan, Vesperado 808. Super nice to meet you. Thanks for hanging out. If you made it this far, mahalo for your support. You guys have a wonderful day, and take care. Aloha.